Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest on the risk of a heat wave coming next working week. It's looking likely for the first full week of September. We're going to be seeing temperatures widely in the mid to high 20s, even into the 30s come the middle of next week, with the UKV today showing the temperatures getting as high as 31 degrees higher than we saw in the whole of July and August. We'll run through what's going on the latest for the live radar. As I said, we'll go through the UKV, look at the precipitation and the temperature, because not only is it going to be very hot, but it's massive area of high pressure dominating. Therefore, it will be remarkably dry as well, something we haven't seen in a while either, a long dry period with minimal showers. We'll also run through some of the longer range runs, because of course the UKV only goes out for the next 5 days, so only really gets us to Wednesday time. But as we'll see from the GFS, GM, Eastern WF and the ensembles, this hot weather is likely to last for actually quite a considerable period, perhaps as much as 7 to maybe as long as 10 days for at least above average temperatures. Of course, temperatures into the low 30s will probably only last a few days, simply because we do need very hot air to get that in early September. But temperatures above average, very warm, in the mid-20s, could last, as I said, for a week or more, and could be very dry as well. The only risk is, as we see a breakdown of this high pressure, a breakdown of this hotter weather, that said, won't likely happen until at least next weekend. There could be some really quite unsettled and stormy conditions, big thunderstorms possible, and of course we could be seeing the Atlantic hurricanes, which are now all out in the mid-Atlantic, start to impact us, because there's actually all that energy from those systems is driving the jet stream northwards at the moment, allowing this heat wave to build. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well. The link's in the description. And of course, I haven't posted a proper longer term or mid to long term update in a few days, and it has flipped the forecast quite considerably. There were some rumblings for the last video we did on this on Monday of some warmer, drier, maybe hotter weather, but it wasn't a major solution. It was a few runs going for it, a few operational runs, but really over the past couple of days it has really ramped up, and now looks pretty much bang on now for hot heat wave like conditions with a big high pressure system to build in. And as I said a minute ago, the reason for this is because of all of that energy in the North Atlantic from the ex-hurricanes and tropical systems powering the jet stream, which we thought last week or earlier this week into last weekend could have sent more of a westerly flow. Instead, it's driving the jet stream northwards, allowing a big high pressure system to build in from the Azores, allowing a southerly flow to develop instead. Again, just highlighting the uncertainty we have this time of year when we do have all of these tropical systems at play. Now, if we do start on the live radar, you can see minimal precipitation around at the moment, so high pressure is already building in, but the hottest air unlikely to arrive for another day or two. Temperatures widely into the low 20s today, could even get into the mid 20s tomorrow, and maybe into the high 20s by Monday. Now, recording this around 3 p.m, and you can see the temperatures at the moment are fairly warm in places. Said low 20s, maybe actually locally mid 20s in some of these central parts. Now, of course, it is early September now, so the sun strength is decreasing. In about 2 months' time, there will be the first risks of snowfall and the first risks of frost and things like that as we head into November. So we're only sort of 8 weeks away from that being a possibility. So the sun strength is decreasing quite substantially. So we are really dependent on hot air masses now. And that hot air mass is going to be slowly heading in from the south. You can see actually at the moment parts of Spain and Portugal are pretty cool. Again, likely associated with precipitation storms. It's still exceptionally hot across North Africa, and that's where the air mass is coming from. Of course, with this upcoming heat wave, temperatures will be best in the south and the east, but still thinking into the low 20s, even for northern areas of Scotland, which is very warm for September time. Now, if you do go over to the UKV, we'll be able to have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days or so. Like you see earlier this morning, a few patchy areas of cloud, but no precipitation really, and through much of today, dotted showers in a few isolated spots, but again, another very dry day for the first weekend of September. Into Sunday, precipitation could be moving in from the north, and that's the unsettled weather that we thought could have arrived. But instead, high pressure is building in the jet stream is to the north of Scotland, so it could give some persistent rainfall for summer overnight into Sunday morning. But into the afternoon, much of that clears, could give some remnant cloud in northern Scotland, but most areas are sunny and really quite stunning. As we head into the first full week of September into Monday, again, more precipitation to the north of Scotland, just showing you how close we are to that unsettled weather. But no, we are under the high pressure system, and that is keeping that low pressure and rain at bay. You can see it here, high pressure building in for us, lower pressure just to our north for those purple colours. Again, just showing you very subtle shifts. We're bringing that low pressure towards us, but in this situation, the high pressure has won out and the warm air has won out on this occasion. But you can see as we head through towards Monday afternoon, another very stunning day, wall-to-wall sunshine, and again, just looking like an exceptional summer day. Into Tuesday, it could be a bit more patchy cloud in the west, but once again, loads of bright sunshine and it's warming up as well. Wednesday could be a bit more gloom around, a bit more high-level cloud, but that's associated with this very humid air mass that starts to arrive by the middle of the week. So unfortunately, the hottest temperatures will be coming in this period, but it's actually going to be associated with a little bit more cloud because the humidity is so much higher and allowing that cloud to build in more. You can see there is the risks though through Thursday. There could be a few odd showers breaking out in very hot, humid air mass. But you can see we still are generally under higher pressure, perhaps just waning a bit in the west, which allows a few of those thundery showers to break out. And that is the risk into the longer terms of the next 5 to 10 days. There is the risk of big thunderstorms arriving, as this is an incredibly hot air mass. But that is something that we'll focus on in videos in the next sort of week or so, as at the moment it's way too far out to say anything with a lot of detail. You can see the upper air temperatures are rising considerably at the moment. They're slightly above average. They're slightly rising more towards sort of considerably above average into the low to maybe mid-teens by Sunday evening into Monday, and then as we head towards Tuesday and Wednesday, touching 20 degrees, which is a ridiculous air mass to get in. That would give temperatures in the mid-30s, high 30s during peak summer, and it's even more ridiculous to be seeing that in September, making these temperatures possible. Now, the September temperature record, you're probably thinking, why are we not pressuring that, is at the 35 degree mark. If we got above 35 degrees, we'd start to threaten that temperature record. I think it's 35.6 degrees, but I have to check on that. It's 35 point something, and there is the risk of reaching that, but we're not seeing that in the next 5 days. Some longer term runs, some sort of mid to longer term runs in sort of a week's time is showing temperatures pressuring the mid-30s if the hot air stays around, which there is some uncertainty with. But in the short term, we're not looking to get within a couple of degrees uncertainty. We're not getting within that at this stage, as we would have to see this hot air to establish itself for a longer period of time to see that. But you can see even by Wednesday, Thursday, we're still in incredibly hot air. If we were to see incredible temperatures, it would be in the southeast by Thursday, Friday, with the 22 or 23 degree isotherm holding on. Incredible heat. Again, if this pattern came off in July, I wouldn't be surprised to see mid to high 30s widely, and even the risk of 40 degrees once again. But as I said, not possible in early September. So it's either 6 weeks ago, then that would be a real possibility. Another big thing with this hot air is the dew points are going to be ridiculously high. You can see not too bad the next couple of days, but by Tuesday, Wednesday, it starts to get into the mid to high teens, even getting up towards the 20 to 23 degree mark by Wednesday evening. And that's why we've got a lot more gloom around. Those dew points are a lot more humidity, a lot more moisture in the air, and that's going to build that high level cloud, and then also give the risk of storms if we do see some sort of ignition, which is highly unlikely, but if it did happen, could be very lively, as we saw in the west on those precipitation charts. A few isolated thunderstorms breaking out, but it'll make it really quite horrible to sleep, and yeah, really quite oppressive. If you have a look at the 2 meter temperatures, the most important thing you can see today, widely low 20s, maybe just about getting towards the mid 20s, 24 or 25 degrees, but a perfectly warm early September day. Into Sunday, temperatures will rise slightly higher, seeing temperatures widely in the low 20s, more towards the mid-20s, 24 to 26. And by Monday, we're starting to rise even higher. Overnight temperatures in city centres, Birmingham, London there, 15 to 17 degrees, so really quite mild overnight. And Monday afternoon, look at that, reaching 27 to 29 degrees widely in the south, even up into the low 20s across the northern Isles of Scotland. And by Tuesday, still widely high 20s, touching the 30-degree mark. And Wednesday here, we're seeing 30 to maybe as high as 31 degrees across the south east. And as I said, that could be adjusted to 32 with a bit of uncertainty, with some localized microclimate, but we'd have to see maybe 33 or 34 to be talking about the temperature record. There is a possibility, though, as we head into Thursday, as you can see by the early hours of Thursday, still widely 19 to 21 degrees, so incredibly oppressive, incredibly warm, will be very uncomfortable for sleeping, something you'd expect in a July heatwave, not an early September heatwave. So yeah, it's going to be very oppressive next week. And as I said, Thursday, Friday, there is the risk of seeing even higher temperatures. But since it's not in the UKV time frame at this stage, not within the next 5 days, we can't really talk about it with too much detail. So I don't want to get anyone's hopes up or overhype the risk of seeing some incredibly hot temperatures or anything, close to the temperature record. Getting towards that 35, 36 degree mark at the moment. 30, 31, maybe 32 looks pretty bang on. Higher is possible, but at this stage, we're not seeing anything in the next 5 days, which is the time frame. We'll have a look at the temperatures in detail. But if we do have a look at the longer range, we'll see why this is occurring and what prospects it has beyond that 5-day time frame. Now you can see at the moment we've got big high pressure out towards Azores, we've got an ex-tropical system coming out into the northeast. I think that is remnants of Franklin there. And what that does, it pushes the jet stream northwards and builds in this big high pressure system. If we have a look at the 300 HPA, you can see very strong jet just to the north of the UK, and it pushes well to our north with all that energy in the kink in the jet stream there. Some of it diverting southwards, some of it diverting northwards. Big area of high pressure builds over the UK, and it pulls up a southerly wind, very hot, and the remnants of Franklin, some of it which goes to our south, some of it goes up to the north, sort of fractures. That powers this low pressure out towards the west of Portugal, and that pushes up a southerly wind, incredibly hot, all the way through the rest of next working week. As we head into next weekend, this is the risk where we could see westerly winds come back in. The GFS is quite reluctant initially, but it does push in very unsettled, stormy, not only in terms of potentially windy and rainy conditions, but big thunderstorms as well, as we head into the following working week, or at least next weekend into the following working week, where it goes very unsettled with a very strong westerly winds. But with this pattern, with a very undulating jet stream, with all these tropical systems injecting energy into the jet stream, it brings the risk of seeing another hot spell here, even towards the end of this run, another southerly push. If you do look at the upper air temperatures, nothing exceptional in the next day or two, but eventually that very hot air exits very quickly out of northern Africa and heads straight towards the UK. 20-degree isotherm pushes in, incredibly hot as we head towards Wednesday time, and it really peaks around Thursday, Friday, for slowly tailing off. You see, it doesn't cool down massively, but it cools down very slowly as that southerly wind gets cut off. As I said, early September now, so we cannot sustain these incredibly hot temperatures. We failed to sustain them at the best of times in July, but we have no chance in September to sustain upper air temperatures over the 15-degree mark. Therefore, it is going to slowly tail off, even though we're not seeing any dynamic changes really in the flow. It turns slightly more westerly, but not substantially. So next weekend, still likely to be warm, just not quite as hot, back into the mid to high 20s from this latest GFS, for eventually we see low pressure with much cooler air sweeping in from the west, and then the risk of another southerly push. But again, not likely to be as sustained because more low pressure is coming in off the Atlantic. You can see how ridiculous these upper air temperatures are. You can see no rumblings of it at this stage, but give it a day or two and look at those dark reds and pinks develop to our south and engulf much of the UK, 10 to 12 degrees above average, proper heatwave levels, sustaining itself all the way to Thursday, before Friday and Saturday still above average, still well above average actually, but slowly decreasing before below average temperatures come in around 8 or 9 days time, so staying incredibly warm for quite a considerable period. We'll just have a quick look at some of those TME temperatures, just have a look what's it showing for Wednesday and what's it showing for Thursday and Friday, where we still have the very hot conditions. Wednesday here, GFS showing widely 30 to 32 degrees, so higher than the UKV by a degree, but also quite a lot more widespread than the UKV. So a little bit of uncertainty there, roughly the same temperatures, but uncertainty in the extent and the severity. Into Thursday, we do see temperatures once again around the 30-degree mark, or low 30s, in a couple of isolated spots. Not quite as hot, because those upper temperatures are starting to tail off, and that'll be the same into Friday. We're still seeing temperatures at the high 20s, low 30s, but tailing off a little bit. So big uncertainty exactly what will entail from Wednesday to Friday. It's going to be very hot, but will it be low to mid 30s, or whether we see low 30s for a couple of days before it slowly tails off? We will have to see. Latest GFS just suggests that Wednesday will be the peak. Thursday still could be incredibly hot, still 30 degrees, but not quite as high as Wednesday will be. But we'll have to see that nearer the time on the UKV when it comes out tomorrow. If you have a look at the GM run now, again, high pressure building in. Very hot high pressure with very strong south to southeasterly winds. It sustains itself all the way until next weekend, before eventually the westerly winds try to push in, but once again are very slow to do so, with the southerly wind holding on for longer periods. Here, the 20-degree isotherm pushes in, perhaps even more widespread than the GFS was showing, and actually holds the 20-degree isotherm all the way to Thursday time, before it slowly tails off in towards Friday and Saturday, for eventually cooler air moves in for northern and west areas by the weekend, but still the south and the east could hold onto that muggy air. If you look at the temperature deviations, you see again ridiculously hot through Wednesday to Friday, or Tuesday to Friday really. And if we do have a look at the 2-meter temperatures, which are going to be perhaps even hotter than the GFS, you can see again into Wednesday afternoon, widely mid to high 20s, not quite as high actually as the GFS. That's interesting. I don't know why the GM is lower. Does it have some precipitation associated with this? Yes, that's why. So the reason for the lower temperatures on Wednesday, a few showers breaking out, which I would doubt, but we can see the high pressure slightly further eastwards, perhaps allowing a bit more instability to move in. So GM not quite as hot because a few showers develop, but you can see Thursday 28, 29, and the same into Friday. So showers developing on the GM here from Wednesday, Thursday time, a few heavy thunderstorms which could halt those temperatures a bit. But as I said, we saw in the UKV, those were primarily further westwards, not impacting the peak temperatures in the east. So that's something we also do need to take account for. Could be a few odd showers. Again, I wouldn't rely on these mid to longer range runs. I'd rely on the UKV and high resolution runs in the next couple of days for the risk of showers, because they are going to be very hit and miss and very uncertain whether they do even develop because of the lack of a trigger. Here it's simply slightly lower pressure by a few millibars, really allowing that ignition, and perhaps a slight disturbance or something like that. Very small disturbances could create huge differences in those temperatures and the precipitation. If you look at the ECWF now, again, high pressure building in, very strong southerly flow, and eventually, as we head towards next weekend, we eventually see low pressure come in, very unsettled for the following Monday. Very deep, stormy low pressure system there, but still keeps fairly warm air just to our east. And you can see again, very hot conditions come in. Maybe not the 20-degree isotherm for as long as the other runs were showing, but nevertheless still incredibly hot. And you look at the 2-meter temperatures associated with this, and you could once again be expecting widely mid to high 20s, even getting towards the 30-degree mark. Again, 28, 29, 30 degrees, and that's the same into Thursday, high 20s. Again, locally could be 30 degrees. You can see the spacing between the numbers, showing it is lower resolution. Again, locally will be slightly hotter, and the same into Friday, where it is warm once again. Now, to finish by looking at the ensembles, you can see the massive spike in upper air temperatures here, peaking around the 5th to the 8th of September, but really only touching that 20-degree isotherm point for around 2 days, Wednesday, Thursday time. And again, depending on the exact timings, we'll decide whether you see one really hot day, 2 really hot days, or if there is maybe some thunderstorm activity. Very warm days, but nothing too incredible. Still highly likely, I'm 90% sure we'll break heatwave thresholds. Pretty much all runs, even the ones showing a few thunderstorms like the GM, we're getting towards the 28-degree mark, which is the heatwave threshold, the highest heatwave threshold in the southeast, parts of eastern England as well. So I'm pretty sure we're going to be hitting heatwave levels Just how high it will get is the uncertainty. As I said, in the longer term, it tails off very slowly, and we're up above average all the way to almost mid-September. Now, the GFS operation run does tail off slightly faster, but the majority of ensemble members are above average all the way to around that 12th to 14th of September point. Now, remember, above average is around, or average to slightly above average is getting towards sort of 20 degrees as we head into mid-September. So we have to remember, above average in sort of July time is low to mid-20s. Above average in September time, we're looking at sort of high teens, maybe 20, 21 degrees. So we do have to change our expectations a little bit, but still very warm and generally pretty hot for a good week or so here through early September. As I said, the precipitation is incredibly low as well, which is a huge positive as well. 2 meter temperatures, you see incredibly warm, widely mid-20s for about a 7-day period, looking at 25 plus degrees. By tomorrow, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, even Saturday and Sunday, where there is a lot more uncertainty, showing 25 degrees plus. So getting on towards 8 days there, and as I said, could reach the 30 to maybe 32 degrees from maybe Tuesday time, maybe Wednesday looking pretty decent chance of that. Thursday and Friday, a good chance as well, but uncertainty how quickly the air mass will move away before it does tail off in the long term. Back towards average, or maybe still slightly above average around that 20 degree mark. Another big thing is going to be the dew points. Look at that, incredibly warm dew points around the mid-teens, maybe peaking slightly higher in the longer term. Again, the whole sort of graph here is just pushed upwards statistically. You can see in the longer term, some dew points down towards the low single digits, and that's what we'd expect in some of the cooler periods here. And the average dew point in the longer term is around that 8 or 9 degrees. Fresh Atlantic air mass. Here, we're looking at high teens at times, and again, these are low resolution ensemble members. Locally, it's likely to be quite a bit higher as well. Finally, if we look at the ECMWF ensembles, pretty much the same as the GFS, peaking around that 20 degree mark for Wednesday, Thursday time, and then slowly tailing off towards the following weekend, and then slowly dropping off as we head into the middle of September, but actually generally staying above average. Precipitation does pick up considerably next weekend into maybe the start of next working week, so in around 7, 8, 9 days time. Big pickup in precipitation here, still quite far away, so we can't say that for certain, but there definitely is a big uptick here, again suggesting there could be quite a big thundery breakdown coming up. So we will have to see exactly how it does play out, but for the time being, if you want some hot, dry, sunny weather, the next 5 days looks excellent, and perhaps even the next 7 or 8 days as well. Unfortunately, school holidays are coming to the end. We are heading towards autumn now, so it's not going to be as stunning and as oppressive and as hot as it could have been in a July or August period. But nevertheless, I don't think anyone's going to complain about an early September heatwave. The only issue I think would come with this is the humidity at times and the trouble sleeping, because although 30 to 32 degrees doesn't sound ridiculously hot, the upper air temperatures are extremely hot for the time of year and for the UK in general, any time of the summer. So it is going to feel like we're in a proper midsummer heat wave, even though those temperatures are not going to be as high as they could have been early in the year. So anyway, we'll have to see exactly what those temperatures come out with. Of course, I'll keep you updated in the next day or two. We should have complete set of data from the UKV and various other short range runs for pretty much the peak of the heat wave, which will likely be Tuesday through to Friday, most likely looking at Wednesday, Thursday time. So I'll have a complete set for the peak of the heat wave and be able to see what those temperatures are likely to be. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you have enjoyed. Make sure you stay safe, hydrated over the next 5 to 10 days. It is going to be oppressive, and I'll see you again for another video soon.